A warm welcome to all the viewers for the course Strength of Material. And today in the second lecture, we are going to describe about various stresses, various strain that are associated with the material. And we are going to also talk about all the failures that are also associated in this particular strength of material subject. And we can study the various stress strain curve for various material, for ductile material, for brittle material, even for all different types of material. So without wasting the time, myself Thiyapal and Assistant Professor of Department of Mechanical Engineering, so going to proceed with my lecture on the various stress strain that are being followed in the body for strength of material subject. So let's have a look in the next slide.
So already in the first lecture we have discussed about the stress strain little bit, and we have basically elaborated all the various properties of the material. So today in the second lecture of strength of material for module 1, we are going to discuss the types of stresses and strains that are associated. Well, whenever a body is subjected to a force, the body deforms, as we know that. And the body in practice are not rigid. The body resists the deformation by developing a stresses. And the body reaches an equilibrium position when the internal stress resultant equals the external force. The deformation of the body and the stress can be related for any body depending upon its material property. So we are going to discuss about the various stresses. So what is the thing? That is the normal stress. Second is the longitudinal stress. Third, we are talking about the hoop stress. And fourth, we are discussing about the tangential stress. So if you look at this particular body, then I must say that stress is the resistance offered by a material body to deformation caused in it when it is subjected to external load. So this is the external load. You can see it has been applied in both the direction, and as you can see, this is the XX section. Why it has been shown XX section? To show how the deformation is basically occurring. So now what we are doing is that let us consider an equilibrium body, that is Mn. You can see this is M and this is N, and it is subjected to tensile load P. Now let us consider the section XX or YY that you have already considered, and you can see that it is divided into two parts. This is A and this is B. Since the body Mn is in equilibrium, every proportion of it may be assumed to be in equilibrium. Okay, so now let us consider the equilibrium part A. With reference to the figure, the part A is subjected to an external load P at M. Clear? And the part A is pulled away from part B by the force P. Hence, part B, this part B, it also exerts a reactive force, which you can see this is the reactive force to part A at this section. Since part A is in equilibrium, R, that is equal and opposite to P. So this is R, it is equal to P, but it is opposite to P. And the most important thing is that this reactive force is the resistance offered by part B to part A and resists separation from part A to part B. Now similarly, the part B is subjected to external load P, as we are talking, and at this end with the reference to C, we can see that part B is also in equilibrium. The resistance force are developed by part A to resist the separation of B from A must be equal to A force, but it is opposite to A. So you can see in between there is a resistive force. Okay. Now, if I talk about the intensity of stress, then I must say that the resistance to deformation of a material body due to application of external load is uniformly throughout the cross section of the body, and the intensity of resistance per unit area is called intensity of stress, which is given by F or sigma, that is equal to R by A. What is R? That is resistance to deformation, and A is the cross-sectional area of the subject. Now just have a look here. As we are talking about the tensile stress, you can see this is the object and tensile load has been applied at the extreme end, and you can see that it has been pulled here. In case of compressive, what it is happening, you can see a compressive load has been acting here and the body is getting compressed. In this particular figure, you can see the body is getting compressed. Next, we are talking about the longitudinal stress. You can see it has been done here. It has been pulled here. The stress is been given here, as you can see. And hoop stress, you can see this is a cylindrical portion, and internal stress that has been acting here, this is the hoop stress. Okay. And shearing stress, you can see this is the object and there is a load applied into opposite direction, and you can see the shearing is occurring in mid between. And this is one of the plane that has been shown here with the help of the shearing stress resultant. Now we'll be talking about the normal stress. What is normal stress? Basically, it is defined as the stress as force per unit area, and if the stress are normal to the area concerned, then these are termed as normal stress. And normal stress is generally denoted by Greek letter, that is the sigma. This is also known as uniaxial state of stress, because the stress act only in one direction. However, such a state really exists. Therefore, we have biaxial and triaxial state of stress, where either the two mutual perpendicular normal stresses act or three mutual perpendicular normal stresses act, as shown in the figure. So this is the body, you can see this is the stress, this is the normal stress, this is the area. Now biaxial stress is this, you can see there is one, this is one, and triaxial means there is one, here is one, and you can see in this direction is also one. So this is the normal stress, you can see it is given in one direction. In case of biaxial, you can see this perpendicular, it has been given, and in triaxial, what I have told, that you are able to see that three different direction it has been shown. Now consider the effect of two axial force P acting on a body which tends to stretch or elongate the rod, and it is commonly experienced that the rod increases in length due to this force. Thus, the increase in length may be very evident if the rod is of, say, rubber, and may not be distinguished if it is of steel, unless large amount of force is applied on it. Now, if two forces form a system equilibrium, then the body therefore remain in equilibrium after it is stretched. What is the mechanism that keeps the body in equilibrium after it has been deformed? Now, to understand this basic method, you have to cut a section of the element and examine the equilibrium condition of each part. Okay, so now we will be moving to the next stress, that is compressive stress. Now we are talking about the stress, so it can be tensile or it can be compressive. So this is the bar, you can see. If you are pulling it, then it is tensile, and if you are compressing it, then it is compressive. Simple thing. If you are pulling it, then it is tensile, and if you are compressing it, then it is compressive. So tensile stress, it is a normal stress acting in such direction that it resists the elongation of the member. And in this figure you are able to see that a body is subjected to a tensile force. Note that the external force are a pair of force acting away from each other. They tends to elongate or stretch the body. If you cut a section along the body, the internal stress form two stress resultant which is opposite to the external force of each body. You will be able to see that I have already explained in my previous slide. Thus, tensile stress is represented by two arrows directed towards each other. If you consider P as the force and area A as the cross-sectional area of the bar, then a tensile stress is particularly defined as P by A. Again I am telling, if you are considering a force that is P, and if you are considering P as a force, and if you are considering A as cross-sectional area, then P by A is equal to stress. Is that clear? Okay. And its unit is determined by Newton per meter square. Okay. Now we'll be talking about the compressive stress, as we are talking about compressive stress. Okay. So here what it has been told that if you consider this particular body and the body is subjected to two external forces acting towards each other, then the external force tends to shorten or compress the body. As I have told, if you are giving the force in this way, then it has got a tendency to get compressed. And the internal force at a section of the body act away from each other, as it has been shown here. And the external force tends to shorten and compress the body. Compression stress is also same way. If you are considering P as the force and A as the area, then stress is also P by A. Now we will be talking about the bearing stress. What is bearing stress? You can see this is the object and this is the soil over which you have placed the object. This is the force you have given. So when one object presses against another, it is referred as bearing stress. There in fact the compressive stress. So this is the soil you can see, and over which you have placed the object and you are exerting a pressure. So this is basically the same thing, as you can see. They are the fact that they are just like the compressive stress. Now we will be talking about the shear stress. So you can see this is the object and you can see force acting parallel over the area, isn't it? You can see. So just let us consider now this situation where the cross-sectional area of the block of material is subjected to distribution of forces which are parallel rather than normal. You have to remember, which are parallel rather than normal to the area concerned. Such forces are associated with shearing of the material and are referred to as shear force, and the resulting force implicit is known as shear stress. Okay, the resultant force intersites are known as the shear stresses. Now we will be discussing about the various type of strain. So what are the strain we can see here? One is the normal strain, next is the tensile strain, next is the compressive strain, next is the tangential or shear strain. So let's discuss about it. So you can see this particular figure. This is the object. You are giving again load. So there is a change in length as well as in dimension also, isn't it? And this change in length, it is represented by del L. Okay, so what we are discussing here is about the normal strain. Okay, so normal strain, what we have been talking is that normal strain are tensile or compressive. And what is strain? As the body is subjected to a force, the body deforms. Strain is measured, or you can say strain is the measurement of the deformation of the body. Just as there are two types of stress, normal and tangential, there are two types of strain, that is a normal strain and tangential strain. So what is normal strain? This is the normal strain. Okay. Normal strain are tensile or compressive. Strain is defined as change in length per unit length. And tensile strain is a case of when you are applying tensile load and the bar undergoes elongation under the force. So let us consider the length L and the area of the cross section as A. Then the elongation in the bar that is occurring we are considering as del L. Okay. Then your strain will be del L by L. Okay. Okay. Now we are talking about the compressive strain. So compressive strain is the situation where due to external force the bar reduces in length and the bar is under compression. This is your compression strain. Okay. And you can see that the change in length we are considering as del L and original length as L. Then the strain formula is same, that is change in length by original length. Now we will be moving to tangential or shear strain. This is the figure. Okay. So in this figure you can see P is the force that has been applied here in this direction, as you can see, and it is applied tangentially to the top face of the block and the force tends to strain the bar as shown. Now shear strain is denoted by the angle phi. This is the shear strain. Okay. So shear strain is defined as tan phi is equal to del L by L, that is change in length by its original length. Now we will be following up the stress strain diagram for ductile material, where you are going to understand the various properties or the various term that is associated with the stress strain diagram for your ductile material. So just have a look here. For ductile material, as you can see, that is, this is stress, this is the strain, and you can see it is getting elongated linearly, then it is getting some curve, then it is getting again, and this is coming in this way. Okay. So if you consider the point A, first consider point A. So this is called proportional limit. So what is proportional limit? It is a point in the stress versus strain diagram, after which the diagram is perfectly straight line. Point A indicates the proportional limit. And while designing a part, the stress set up in the part is not allowed to raise above stress at proportional limit. Next we will be talking about the point B. This is point V. So what is point B? It is the elastic limit. It is the point above proportional limit but very close to it. Up to elastic limit, property of elasticity of the material is exhibited. But Hooke's law is not obeyed up to this point. B indicates elastic limit. Next we are talking about the point C. So C is known as upper yield point. C is the upper yield point, and in the portion BC, the metal shows an appreciable stress without further increase of stresses. Again I am repeating, in the proportion BC, the metal shows an appreciable strain without further increase of stress, and the strain is not fully recovered when the external load is removed from the metal. Now we will be discussing about point D. Okay, here is the point D. Here is the point D. What you can see for point D? It is the lower yield point, and you can see that the lower yield point yielding starts in the portion CD, and there is a drop of stress at the point D as soon as yielding starts at C. Now we will be talking about the point E. What is E? This is point of ultimate stress. E is the point of ultimate stress. In the portion DE, there is increase of stress and strain, though not proportionally, till point E is reached when a neck occurs and the cross-section area of the specimen being tested is abruptly reduced. Stress just before formation of such neck is called ultimate stress. And the last point, that is the F. It is known as the breaking point. F is the breaking point. At the breaking point, actual rupture of the metal occurs. Since after reaching ultimate stress, cross-sectional area of the metal is reduced, and external load required to cause its actual rupture is less than ultimate load. But it is customary to measure the stress always on the basis of the original cross-sectional area of the object. For this reason, the breaking stress at F is always less than your ultimate stress. Now, there are certain terms that is associated with this particular diagram, that is working stress. What is working stress? Okay, so what we were talking, now we will be defining working stress. WORKING stress. So working stress, it is the maximum stress allowed to be set up in a material in actual practice. Working stress is much less than your ultimate stress. It is obtained by dividing the ultimate stress by a number called factor of safety. Now, when you are getting the term factor of safety, so now you should know what is factor of safety. You should know what is factor of safety. It is a number by which ultimate stress is divided in order to obtain the working stress. And the factor of safety is always given as sigma eta 1, eta 2 or eta 3. Eta 1 is the factor of safety allowing for inaccuracy in load determination, and its value always lies between 2 to 5. Eta 2, it is the factor of safety for non-homogeneity material, and it has been seen that its value always lies between 2.3 to 4.6. And eta 3, it is factor of safety for servicing condition, and its values always lie between 1 to 1.5. So these are the things that are associated with the stress strain diagram for ductile material. Now you can see stress strain diagram for brittle material, and here you can see to getting proportional limit, then it is getting break. So now ultimate stress curve is there. So this is stress, this is your strain. Okay. For ductile material, you can see there is upper yield point, lower yield point, ultimate stress, then breaking. But in case of brittle material, what it is happening is that linearly it is going to some extent, then it is getting break. After proportional limit, it is getting the breaking point. So now we are going to have a brief description, or we are going to have a look for the stress strain diagram for all types of material. So just have a look for cast iron. You can see it is getting linearly, then it is getting curve. If I go for aluminum alloy, you can see the linearly it is getting, and then it is getting in this way. And if I talk about the low carbon steel, you can see this is linearly it is getting, and then it is getting horizontally. And if I talk about the wood, a little bit linearly it is getting, then it is stopping. And for rubber, you can see this is it is getting, and again it is little bit getting raised. And for concrete, it is getting in this way. For cast iron, as you can see, this is the cast iron. So now let's move to the next slide. So now we will be discussing about the failure of material. So strength of material, as we are talking, that we are talking about the material and we are putting load on it. That means there is the property we are discussing about the mechanical property, where we have already discussed that how it is able to resist, how it is able to bear the load. So the failure of the material generally occurs. So first if I talk, that is due to the tension, as you can see, and this is for ductile material and this is for brittle material. So ductile metal we are talking about here, they are basically weak in shear and failure is due to shear strain along the plane forming 45 degrees. So this is the 45 degree it is forming. You can see this is the 45 degree it is forming with the axis of the specimen. In ductile material, cup and cone fracture takes place. So you can see this is the cone, cup and cone fracture occurring. In ductile material, neck is from before fracture occurs. Necking or neck, as you can see, it is formed before the fracture. Now this is the fracture due to tension test, but this is for brittle material. Now brittle material are very weak in tension. So brittle material fails due to separation of particle along the surface. Along the surface, you can see this is occurring at 90 degree. In the direction of the load, this is the direction of the load, and the failure is occurring at 90 degree towards the direction of the load. Okay. Now let's move to the next slide. Now here you can see the failure that is occurring due to compression test. So this is for ductile material and this is for brittle material. So if I talk about the ductile material, then short compression member falls in compression yielding and failure occurs at 90 degree to the compressive load. And in compression yielding, buckling of the material occur. So this you can see this is the fracture plane. Okay. Now for brittle material, in compression, brittle metal fails in shear failure and it occurs at 45 degree. This is the 45 degree to the direction of loading. So this is the direction of loading and the failure is occurring at 45 degree here. Okay. So now let's move to the next slide. So as you can see that today in this particular content, we have discussed about the various failure and what are the stresses, what are the strain that are basically occurring here. So if I talk about the failure and if I have a glance look at the failure, then I must say the fatigue failure is also occurring in the metal. Now what are the example of fatigue failure? So you can talk about the crushing of aircraft due to crack in turbine blade, next failure of the flywheel, next breaking of the wear due to cyclic bending. So these are the basic failure that is occurring. So at glance, if I would like to conclude from the lecture 2, then I must say that stress is the resistance offered by a material against deformation. We have also discussed about the strain, which is the deformation per unit length, and it is unitless quantity. Next, in the stress strain curve, low yield point is considered for design purpose. Next, if I consider for ductile material, then I must say ductile material are tough and brittle material are hard. In general, I can come to a conclusion that ductile material fails in shear and brittle material fails in principal tension. And next, what I would like to say is that for no fatigue failure, stress should be below endurance limit. So today here I am concluding the lecture and hope you have understood about various failure, about various stress strain curve for different material, how the stress strain curve looks for different material. Hope a proper view has been provided through this lecture. So if you have liked the video, then please subscribe the channel and like my video and also share the video. Thank you all of you. So please stay connected. So in the next lecture, we can discuss about the various load that are occurring over the object axially. Then we are going to have a load for the conical bodies. We are going to have a great discussion in my next lecture. Thank you. So please stay connected. Thanks a lot.